Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. Welcome to $3 Theater, and today we're going to be talking about my review of Lovecraft Country Episode 1, Sundown. This episode just premiered on HBO, and I have to say, it is way better than I anticipated. I went into this with high expectations, and I was very happy with how things turned out. I was very happy with how the whole thing came to be, and I'm very glad that we're currently in this really weird kind of Stephen King-esque world. But before we begin, if you haven't seen the show yet, go and check out the episode, or also on top of, go check out the video I dropped earlier today, 10 things you need to know about Lovecraft Country, because I put a lot of work into that video and I'm pretty proud of it. I want to share it with you guys, and I'm hoping that the show becomes the next big thing people talk about so we can then dive in. One of the things I wanted to do that was a little bit different is kind of go through the show itself, right? Rather than just sit here and give you my overall review, I thought it would be kind of fun to just look at it kind of, I don't want to say scene by scene, but more or less go over a highlight reel and break down what we're looking at there. So I did put together a bunch of images. I got a bunch of screenshots. Some are going to be good, some are going to be bad, but it is what I was able to get on short notice. But anyway, I do want to say I love the way that the episode started. We see Atticus here in a World War II trench. He is fighting his way through some kind of situation, because you find out that he is a Korean War veteran. And he was in the military for that, although that wasn't mentioned at all in this. But we do get to see, him in black and white, and that's pretty cool. And then it starts to transition over to being in color, which is pretty interesting. We see this massive landscape here. You got a shot of him running without his helmet on. We see a guy with a flamethrower, very World War II, very feels kind of like Normandy Beach situation. And then we get this like H.G. Wells sweeping shot of this battlefield of you got tripods, you've got UFO saucers, and that flying creature right there. That's straight up Cthulhu. Like, that is Cthulhu in this scene. Very brief, and it's just like massive destruction, massive chaos. Feels like a 1950 sci-fi movie. And I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like, is this the world they live in? Because that is awesome. And then we get the shot of the UFO, again, total 1950 sci-fi frisbee UFO, and out comes a woman. And it's Jamie Chung's character, who's playing Jia. She's going to be on later in the season. And she's in this weird gold bikini with a completely red skin. And it's like, what the hell's going on? And then I believe it's Jackie Robinson shows up, and he ends up beating down Cthulhu, which again was like, what the hell is Jackie Robinson doing there? What the hell is Cthulhu doing there? At this point, you can kind of figure out that it's more of a dream sequence, so to speak. But from there, Atticus wakes up. He's on this bus. Jim Crow laws are still in effect. He's leaving Kentucky, heading back towards Chicago. Him and this other woman get into this conversation. But I really liked this cinematography throughout the entire episode. And I felt like they did a lot to really kind of showcase segregation. And it's not something that we talk about anymore, really, because it hasn't been a thing for like 50 years. But still, it's like, this is the world that this show takes place in, and they want you to know that it's a reality that these people live with. And they did a really good job at building up the world from that perspective. After a while, he gets back to Chicago. He goes and sees his uncle who works at a bookstore. He picks up this book, The Outsider and Others by H.P. Lovecraft. And they bring up that poem where H.P. Lovecraft actually wrote about the origin of the N-word, and it's a poem, and he says it. I'm not going to repeat it, but they talk about that briefly in order to showcase the racist history of H.P. Lovecraft, which does get brought up a little bit in this. Nothing too spectacular, but it does exist, and they do acknowledge its existence. From there, they're trying to figure out what happened to Atticus's dad. He is somewhere in Massachusetts. They are trying to find this town called Artem. And while they're looking around, they come across this image in an atlas. And I didn't know what this image was at first, which is why I was like, I got to make sure I screenshot this, because I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's a clock. It looks like it's an upside down clock, and has a reaper. Now that comes into play later on. So if you have watch the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. You know exactly what this image is. From here, he's going to go lay down after going to his block party. He's getting ready to go out and travel the next day. And he ends up placing a call to South Korea, where this woman answers it. She talks, he doesn't talk. But I liked it because he did convey a lot of emotion in this scene. He was fearful to speak. It was almost like he was too afraid of his life to say anything. She's like, Atticus, is this you? You went home. You shouldn't have. And she hangs up. And like, that's where it cuts it. So you're like, oh, okay, this is laying the groundwork for what's going to be coming down later on. From here, they get ready to leave to take on off because the uncle George, he does this this tour guide, this travel guide, if you will, for Black people on the road, for places that are safe. He goes out and he braves Jim Crow America in order to find more or less like kind of like an underground railroad of African-American friendly environments, friendly locations. Like that's what he does. It's a very dangerous thing. It's a very noble thing in that regard as well. But his daughter was drawing this comic about Panther Man, and she hands him this comic for Arinthia Blue, kind of showing like moving away from the old serials of the 40s to getting into the sci-fi elements of the 50s, which I thought was actually a pretty cool little thing there as well. Now on their way out of town, at this point, they see this particular sign. And this again kind of ties back in with that image of the Grim Reaper. Ensler, don't let the sun set on you here. Do you understand? Now they don't, again, they're alluding to something, but they're not saying what it is. And if you've seen the episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's some pretty wild stuff. They also, at this point, I took a shot of this Aunt Jemima pancakes billboard because this was filmed in 2018, far before Aunt Jemima was going to have all of that branding removed, which happened a couple months ago. So this show is very poignant in some aspects, but also in this scene too, they're filling up on gas and you have like the nerdy, gas station attendant out there smoking a cigarette next to a gas pump, and he's making ooga booga sounds. And it's like, oh, like you hate to see it. You hate to see it, but it is a reality these people live in, and they are making it sure that we know that this is a reality that they live in. From there, they go to this small town where they go try to find Lydia's Diner. This is supposed to be a place where Black people are going to be treated fairly, that it's going to be a place that he can write down as being a good place to go and stop while you're traveling. Unfortunately, though, and this is where you get a bit of an idea about how bad things get, at least in this part of the country, is they come to realize that Lydia no longer owns the place. It's like called Somerville. It's like the Somerville Diner. And something happened to Lydia where they more or less torched it, and I think killed her is what they allude to. And they put a fresh coat of paint over everything and had someone come on in and take it over. So of course, when these guys show up, guys with guns show up. And it's not just any guys with guns. Look at the fact that there's a fire truck right there. This is not some local militia or some local gang. This is literally law enforcement. This is law enforcement that is tracking these guys down, and they go on this massive chase that ultimately, they're shooting at each other. Atticus pulls out his gun. He fires back, and then it ends up being taken out. I don't know how it happens. It looks like there's a silver Rolls Royce driven by this woman right here, who we're going to find out later on as a Braithwaite. Carrie Braithwaite, I think is what her name is. And she's more or less like, she's driving this Rolls, and they get the truck behind it, and then the truck just flips, but like nothing, the truck doesn't move. So there's some kind of like psychic power or psychic ability that I thought was actually pretty interesting. And that was something that I enjoyed. And then from there, they go visit a friend, and that friend has been looking up information. I wasn't able to get all the screenshots I wanted to get. I was on limited time, but the friend was able to pinpoint kind of where the dad went. In this weird area that's kind of in the middle of nowhere. There's no towns out there. But in the meantime, they find out about the sheriff, Eustace Hunt, I think is his name. And that dude is crazy as shit. And that's the guy that's like, you got to watch out for this guy. So obviously he's going to come in at some point in time during the episode. And they also, this is on the back of the comic book. It is the Safe Negro Travel Guide. This is what Uncle George is working on. This is why he goes out there. And his daughter drew this for him and gave it to him on the back of her comic book, which I thought was really cool. I like the family dynamic. This is very much a family drama, and I feel they've done a lot to really kind of showcase some awesome characters and like what we're going to get out of these characters. And like Courtney B. Vance is awesome. Journey Smollett is good in the show as well. Jonathan, I forget the name of the guy, the last name of the actor who plays Atticus. He's really good. So far, everyone's really good. I'm really happy with it. From there, this is where I wasn't able to, again, I had to put my daughter to bed, so I was kind of rushing to get things done. This is where they encounter the sheriff. He basically tells them, you have until sundown to get the hell out of the county, and you get the hell out of the county or else we can hang you. And that was what they mean by get your ass out of here by sundown. And that's what that Grim Reaper symbol meant. That Grim Reaper symbol meant that it was a sundown county or a sundown town, meaning if you are black and you are out after sundown, you are legal, fair game to hunt and kill. That's wild as hell to me. I was like, holy shit. So they're trying to get the hell out of there without breaking the law. They're trying to get the hell out without breaking the law. He's on their ass. He's bumping the car. He's trying to force them to speed, to pull them over. He's doing everything he can to pull them over. And they do make it away. They cross the train tracks. They get to the other side. And what I like about this shot right here, and again, I want to talk about the cinematography of the episode I really enjoy. You can see it's darkened on his side, meaning like darkness, evil, lightness on the left side kind of gives you an idea that there is something better out there, that there is something better on the horizon, that they're safe now, that they're still in the light. Nope. They drive just around the corner and they find themselves stopped by a couple cop cars who then grab and drag them into the woods. The sheriff shows up and they're more or less going to execute them because they're trying to accuse them of all these burglaries, when all of a sudden they start hearing some noises from the forest and it gets real. This is the best screenshot I was able to get of the creature full size right off the bat, just to give you an idea of the size of how big this thing is. It is super destructive. It is like a freaking gorilla with how it attacks. And not only that, it's got some serious like spikes or something. It tears this dude apart after it bites his head off. You can see the shotgun there in his right hand. As the body is convulsing, the shotgun raises, pulls it trigger, takes off the head of another dude. And then everyone takes off running as this thing is watching them. I mean, whatever the hell this thing is, it's watching them. But I love look at this here. You see the little hairs, all the different eyes. It kind of feels like some kind of octopus, some kind of weird, maybe a fly or something with many different eyes that's being able to see everything. They get back to the cabin. At this point, they're trying to just stay afloat. The couple cops are with them. The uncle's injured. They don't know where he is at. We can see here that this is the sheriff. He is grossly injured and he is trying to still maintain some kind of command. Tells Letitia to go out and get the car because whatever the problem is, like this thing is afraid of light. So it doesn't go near anything that's holding a flashlight or it's illuminated. She runs out there. It starts to chase her down. Here we get another good shot of it again from behind these two cop cars. And she turns it on as he starts to turn. So now the sheriff is turning into a freaking whatever those things are. And I just love the way here that this feels very much like Blade 2 to me, how the vampires turned, how they were in Blade 2, and also The Strain, another Guillermo del Toro property that more or less was kind of an indirect sequel to Blade, which, let's be fair, kind of was. So he's turning, and then it cuts back to her, and I just love this shot right here. Again, the cinematography is fantastic. I couldn't get the full frame, but just her expression of being afraid and the creature right there on the windshield, and then the light shining right at her. They put a lot of good horror elements into the cinematography, and I have a feeling that has a lot to do with Jordan Peele. So I really enjoyed that. Here, the sheriff attacks the other cop. It tears his throat out. He then, I mean, we can see he's like, now he's turning into whatever the hell it is. Now he basically becomes full on whatever the hell that thing is. We get a kind of a blurry look there, a little bit better look here of his teeth, of how gnarly and gnashy they are and how it's just going to tear everything apart. But we can see that there's the light behind him because Letitia's got the car. She crashes into the place. And then, but it's not just one show up, not just that one. There's a lot more. In fact, we can see here this great shot of another one over the building, looking down at them. You can see the uncle at the very bottom. He's in front of the headlight. He's been knocked out, so they drug him in front to keep him safe. They're throwing out road flares, and we can see a whole bunch of these other creatures. And then they disappear. They hear a whistle, they disappear, and then the next morning, the three of them go walking, and they end up in Ardham, which is where they were trying to find the city, the town that doesn't exist on a map, where they believe that the dad is at, where they believe this is where they're going. And of course, they discover this mansion. And I just love the cinema. I just love the way the shot's composed. I just seeing the building back there. Obviously, the building is CG, but I like how it's just like, what the hell is this thing doing here? And these people are absolutely tore up. So they head off towards the mansion. They do this great shot here. We've seen this in the movies where they do like, they're showing that same Rolls Royce. So, or that's a Bentley. My bad. It's a Bentley. I want to make, I'll get corrected, but that was a Bentley. So they got the Bentley and they're looking at it like, wait, they recognize this vehicle. What the hell's going on? They open the door. Here's this, Eric Norseman looking dude, right? This Aryan looking mother. And he's all like, oh, hey, we've been waiting for you, Atticus Freeman. Welcome home. And they're like, say what now? They're like, what the hell's going on? And then that's where the episode ends. And that's where we now are going through Sundown and we are waiting to see what's going to happen on the next episode. And I got to say, I'm really happy with it. I felt like, a lot of the interpersonal scenes were really good. I felt like a lot of the acting and the dialogue between the characters are really good. I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the violence. I enjoyed the intensity, especially when they were being chased out of town by those people. And like, when the cops are dragging them out into the woods, like you knew what was going to happen. These guys didn't care. That sheriff had like 270 NAACP complaints against him. Like this is a kind of guy that would string them up and have no issue with it. He would kill all three of them in a violent, cold-blooded rage, and then he would go sleep on a pillow like a baby. But now he's been turned into whatever the hell those creatures are. And so we're going to have to wait to find out more. I will say, though, they haven't really fully explained what Lovecraft Country is. They haven't really explained a lot about H.P. Lovecraft's connection to all of this. So there are a couple things they still need to really talk about to kind of tie it into the Lovecraft aspect, as I think they will as time goes on. But when it comes to the world building, it's an excellent show. When it comes to the characters and the acting, it's an excellent show. This is, I think, going to be the big mystery box, what's going on with this show shit that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 weeks. So I'm really excited about this. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. Thank you again for watching my review of Lovecraft Country Sundown. I know this has been a bit of a long one, but I wanted to go through this and maybe do these live to have conversations with you guys about it. So if you want to see me do this live, let me know that one. We'll talk about it later on. Anyway, my name is Matt Jarbo. Have yourself a great day, everybody. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.